All right, Get Better Everyday podcast with Matt Gouget. I'm excited. I've got my guest, Timothy Shaffer, on today, CEO and founder of SearchTires.com. I want to jump into that, kind of get into the nitty gritty of the business. But before we start, Tim, maybe just tell us a little bit about yourself and personally, before Search Tires, who is Tim Shaffer?
Yeah, well, basically, I was raised in the Midwest until I was 15, and then in Indiana and Illinois, right on that border town right there. And then 15 years old, moved from a town of 1,600 people to Boca Raton, which my high school had 2,700 people.
Wow.
So it was a culture shock right away. However, it was really great knowing that we didn't have to deal with winter and freezing and snow anymore. So it was a little bit of a transition, and then getting down here and getting into the Florida weather and stuff like that was great. And then going to school down here is athletics. I was always big in athletics, and it was really great to play in the Midwest because, as far as I'm concerned, we're much more fundamentally better at stuff because we concentrate on fundamentals much better. So when I came down here, it translated really well. So played basketball, did track, and then I was always into cars and automotive. So that's really what led me into, I went to college. College really wasn't a fit for me. I was kind of an entrepreneur soul from a young age. So started, went to work on cars, started working on the side, buying and selling cars, fixing them up and doing that kind of stuff. And then led me into eventually having my own businesses, having a few good exits, going to corporate America for about 10 years. And then, creating a platform like SearchTires.com that I felt was really needed to help brick and mortar get back in the game and having market share stolen from these I call them e-tailers, which they're selling tires online, but they still need the brick and mortar stores to install the tires. So they're really taking away a big part of the sale and then turning them into installers, and that's just not sustainable. So I've seen and plus the thing about that is that what it does is it turns them into installers, and they're the ones that are employing local people working in local communities and paying local taxes. Even if they're big box or not big box, it really doesn't matter. I mean, they're employing them local people, and the e-tailers just doesn't they're kind of they kind of want to sell the tires and get that stuff, but they don't think about the communities, the little league teams and all that kind of stuff. And being from the Midwest, I don't know you're originally from, I know you're in Sacramento now, but it's a big deal, community and helping community and do that kind of stuff. I think it really resonates with me, and and I'm a family guy too. So Search Tires is really based on fundamental principles of basically people helping people.
Yeah, I love that so much. At U Mortgage, you create strong communities is one of our core principles. Yeah, I literally had that printed on a banner, like you said, Little League, right? So at my kids'
Right.
Little League, there's gonna be a big banner. And I think that like I love what you're talking about. I want to dig into it more. You can have big operations and you can use technology to people live in a different world when they buy stuff, but there's still a local aspect to it. So yeah, tell me about let's dig in maybe to the searchtires.com, the early days, like what your vision was and maybe what it's morphed into, because it's not always like you thought of 2 decades
Yeah.
or 3 decades down the road when it started. Tell me more about that.
Well, so I always like to start with letting entrepreneurs know, and I know that a lot of entrepreneurs listen to your podcast and stuff like that. And the first thing is it's never an overnight success. So I thought of this idea in 2009, and 2010 I started to get the wheels rolling on it. It was late 2009, 2010 I started to get the wheels rolling on it, and by 2013 I rolled up the first iteration of this, and I was trying to please the local tire retailers and the consumers at the same time. And I was trying to please two masters, and basically it failed. And when I say it failed, I really don't like to use the word, but I want to have it make an impact with entrepreneurs, that knowing that failure is part of it, but there's really no failures. It's just an education, right? It's like I learned what not to do, just like Thomas Edison said. I found 17,000 ways of how the light bulb doesn't work. So,
Right.
so I was trying to please two masters, and it didn't work out. I mean, we had a lot of publications write about us. We had some momentum, but at the end of the day, we were really early to the game on what we were trying to do. So in that sense, it really kind of negated where it needed to get to be sustainable, right? So at a certain point, after it was like 2.5 to 3 years, you have to pull the plug. And as an entrepreneur, it's not really an easy thing to do, because you don't ever say, hey, it doesn't work, because you're just trying to keep going. But shut it down, and then and that was the early days, and then regrouped. um and then we have marketing companies as well, me and my partner and stuff. So learned that edge just on the marketing perspective and what do people really want. And then we brought up, like a year ago, we started to build on searchtires.com, and it was just forward facing. Hey, listen, we're going to help the consumer, because if we help the consumer, the byproduct is going to be helping the retailers, the brick and mortar. So we finally, even in my mindset, it was like, so you take a break, you take a few years off. It's still in the back of your mind, right? You're still thinking of ideas and stuff like this, because I was still thinking of many iterations we could do. But then I think, hey, let's just make it as simple as we can do. Let's make it free. Let's make people go there. Shows all their local retailers, all the out the door. Show out the door prices, amount of balance, tax, disposal, everything. So just make it easy, and they don't have to enter in anything. They don't have to give us any data. I mean, they're entering in their information to get their tire sizes and stuff like that, but we want to be as non-invasive as possible and help them get to the brick and mortar. And in saying all that, so like the byproduct of that is eventually we'll make money. We're pre-revenue. I'm not going to lie about it. We're pre-revenue. We self-fund, but that's our goal right now, is to become the source for tire pricing for the United States. I mean, and we're making very good inroads at doing that. I mean, our success has been noticed by a lot of big box. I mean, our bounce rate's under 20%. People stay on our site for about 4 minutes. That's all they need to, because it's really easy for us. They put in their year, make, and model. We display it. They click to call. They click to go to the website, or they click to get directions. It's that simple. It's because when I was in the business, what I've learned is people really want to know, especially when they're searching for tires. Most people don't want to be educated on it. They want to know how much, how long, and where you at. That's what they want to know. So, hey, you know what? Let's give them that. Let's just give them that. And then it's not my job to really sell them anything. It's my job to show them where the best value is. They make the phone call, and then the store takes over and does their job and do what they're supposed to do. That's and the lead time on people buying tires is like 72 hours. And that's even with these online retailers selling. If we can cut that down to 48 hours, because usually by the time people know they need tires, they're unsafe.
Yeah.
And we want to have safe tires. We all have kids, you know what I'm saying? And they're going to be on the road, or they're young in our cars with us. And not a scare tactic, but we just want to make sure that when people know that they need tires, that they can go get them pretty quickly. And really the bottom line with that is that not only are the tires available locally, 99.9% of the time they're cheaper than the e-tailers that are selling them and shipping them. So yeah, so it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah. There's so many things that I love about that little segment you just gave us. And I wrote down a few things. First one, for entrepreneurs, because like you said, entrepreneurs listen to this. I'm around a lot of entrepreneurs. They're trying to get better every day in a number of different things. Find what doesn't work is something you said. And that's something that, that's not part of the plan, but it's
Right.
part of most businesses' evolution. Is you've got to try iteration number one. It fails. We got to tweak that a little bit. Another thing you said that is pure gold, and I've been around a lot of very successful businesses that put the consumer in the center, right? Client experience is everything. If you can serve the consumer, you can figure out the business around that. And that sometimes comes later, which it sounds like for you, number one goal is let's go out there and serve people, give them something that's valuable, which is this search engine. Another word I wrote down was transparency. That's what people want in 2024 and beyond, is somewhere they can go where they don't feel like they're being sold. Their information's being captured, and they're going to get 14 calls from 14 different tire companies trying to sell them, right?
Exactly.
another thing that you mentioned, which people should hear, if they didn't, I'll repeat it. This stuff doesn't just happen overnight, and it's not easy, right? It takes years and years of serving the consumer at a high level, trying different iterations of things. So I love that you were, transparent about the journey. And so, what's the future of this in your eyes? Like how you see it, and of course, subject to change. But
Right.
where do you see searchtires.com 5 years from now?
I see searchtires.com being the source for tire pricing. I mean, I do. I really do. And we're on the path to do that right now. And I wanted to go back just a little bit because I kind of missed something. I didn't really miss it. I just wanted to add it to it just so your guys really know. One of the things for entrepreneurs is tough for us is a lot of us have a lot of things going on all the time. I would just caution one thing. You have to take the ego out of it. One of my big aha moments is I was telling a big senior advisor for a huge big box company that was a senior advisor for us. I mean, it was a big get for us. And I kept telling him, going on and on about what I wanted. And then one day he stopped me and he goes, "Hey, listen, no one cares what you want. Just get that through your head. We put it out there. The data tells us what the people want, and that's what we give them." So I would just say you just have to be open to instruction as an entrepreneur. So just be open to the data and then being able to adjust on it, because that doesn't mean you're less of an entrepreneur. It means that first of all, you don't do anything on your own. It takes a team to build it. And you got to be open to them aha moments so you can adjust and run your business that way. Now, getting back to the search tires thing, what I'm excited about with searchtires.com is that we've already proved that we have the data that's already proved that we are so sticky. When people come to us, they spend over 4 minutes, and that's about what it takes to get to 4 minutes and 18 seconds, basically. It converts over 30%, which is really unheard of. But again, we're not selling anything, but they're clicking for directions, they're clicking to call, and a lot of them are clicking to call, and they're clicking to the website. If they click to the brick and mortar's website, they're also going there, they're looking at the tire price there and scheduling an appointment. So, for us, it's like we're very non-invasive and we're just trying to guide people. And our average customer saves over $111 on a set of 4 tires. There's in some cases that we see some people save over $300 on a same tire from a different place that's 2 miles away from the other one. And listen, I'm not trying to go against brick and mortar. There could be some misprints. There could be a lot of different things happening in that thing. I'm just saying we want to be lifetime. We want to give them that data that they need to make an educated choice on a tire, and then get them into that brick and mortar to do that. And I think with what we do, I think that we'll be a good complementary, like insurance companies. They say, we'll show you everybody else's prices. Well, the auto industry has been so looked at negatively for so long. Why wouldn't they do that? Right? I mean, hey, we'll show you everyone's prices, because as working in a tire store like I have before, we show other people prices, and sometimes we have to beat the prices, but there's nothing wrong with that. But I think, like you said, when you said transparency, that's one of my things I say all the time. Transparency is trust. If you can show that, hey, oh yeah, they are a little bit cheaper than us, we'll match that price, and then we'll get them put on right now. We got them in stock. Who's going to say no? I mean, it's just like, it's an easy thing. So my vision for Search Tires is, I think, and we've gained a lot of traction with a lot of eyes on us, and we're still, we're self-funding. We're not taking anything. And I'm not saying we're never going to do that, because you can't say, you don't know what happens. But my path is to continue to deliver the best product we can and the best services we can to our customers in that short amount of time that we have them engaged. And then, ultimately add stuff to it. Like maybe if retailers want to show that they have an oil change, maybe we'll email the clients or put it up on the board, their deals page or something. That's stuff in the future that I want to do. But right now I'm just going to stay focused on the single thing, which is, when you start being an entrepreneur, we all have all these ideas, but you have to be focused on the singular North Star, fix that first, and then you can start adding ancillary products to it later. But I got to get this down first.
Yeah. Cause just so I understand it, and hopefully the audience does, searchtires.com, you're a third party that's just helping people find, I need this specific set of tires, in this, probably 5 mile radius, because I don't want to drive 37 miles and have my tires put on. I want to find, a great price, a close location that can give me what I need. So you're aligned with these brick and mortar. You're not, competing against any of them. You're not selling your own
Right.
tires. You're just,
Nope.
the service that helps people go out there fight. Kind of like you mentioned, insurance broker or a mortgage broker. I've got, 40 different lenders, and we can look
Right.
at 40 different places to send this loan based on your criteria and what you're looking for. I can
Right.
help align you with the best one for your specific need.
Right. I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm just trying to help people. And that's I know it sounds corny, but it's true. That's the truth.
Right.
Because when you do that, so obviously you have to explain the next, the white elephant in the room, right? Hey, that no everyone knows what's lying in the background. Well, when you build a company based on trust and transparency, the byproduct is obviously going to be money, because when you own a segment of the search for a $50.6 billion business, obviously, there's going to be some, valuation things. There's going to be some things that come in there. At the same time, I don't like to get too caught up in valuations and all that stuff right now, because my job as a CEO of this company is to provide our consumers with the best product we can that's going to give them the best information to do what they do. All them other chips are going to fall into place. Like I always say, it's a byproduct. It's not what I'm doing today. I don't have to worry about that. I just have to worry about putting the best product on the field, just like a coach putting the best team on the field. And the chips fall where the chips fall. I mean, and I think more entrepreneurs really need to be, really need to look at things like that. It's, you just concentrate on what you can control and hire the best people around you to do what you don't control, because that's what I do,
Right.
because God knows I don't know everything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I love it. And it sounds like, great business advice for anybody starting a business. The piece of advice you got, nobody cares what you want. You go out there and you test things, and then you get feedback, right? If somebody stays on the website for 9 seconds and bounces, you're obviously not providing them something that they feel is valuable, regardless of how much you like it, and regardless of what you want. The proof is in the pudding with a lot of things business, just like, a social media post with a ton of engagement. It's what people want to see, and it's what they
right.
want to engage in. So they engage with it. They're staying on your site. It's a valuable service. And then all the other, chips fall into place. So, man, I love a lot about that. What piece of advice would you give to get better everyday listeners? Just general business, because I know you got a lot of experience. Not
Yeah.
just with searchtires.com, but decades of sales and operational experience. What kind of advice for somebody's listening to Get Better Everyday podcast? Like a lot of people that I've spoke to, they're dabbling in a few different things. I think this idea would work. I think that idea would work. What advice would you give them?
Well, first of all, I'm very passionate about this part, because people always tell me I should be a coach, but I said I don't have time because I'm concentrating on a product right now. But um, I would say a few things. First of all, you have to find your North Star. If you find something, you need to really let the stuff fall to the wayside. I mean, obviously, there's people like Elon Musk that do stuff, but obviously, he had his first thing that he did really well, and then that enabled him to do other things. So I always say find your North Star. But in finding your North Star, there's a few things that you need to do daily. And I have like a daily checklist that I go through in my brain. It's automatic for me now, but it's like you have to create a habit. So consistent practice. I always say consistent practice. You got to practice what you do. I mean, you have to dedicate that time to understand and master where you're at, that thing you're in. Seek feedback. I'm always seeking feedback from everybody, senior advisors we have, or people in the industry that I know. Always seek feedback and be open to it and be humble about it. I mean, because that's helping you. I mean, the other day I was on a call and I didn't even think of some guy brought it up and I was like, holy moly, that's great. He was an ex-CEO of Firestone. It was great. The other thing is stay updated. Stay updated in your industry. Once you're building something, you can't just like forget about what's going on in the industry. You have to still keep cognizant of what's going, because you might be a little late. And then learn actively. I put an hour aside every day to learn something, and it could be something as simple as like nothing to do with my business, but just keep your brain in the focus that it always wants to be open instruction and learn different things. I think it's important to keep your brain in tune that way. I think it's like a mental tune-up, right? It's like, hey, learned some random stuff that I may not use, but hey, that's that's some arrows in my quiver. So maybe down the road I'll be able to use it. Um, and multiple resources. When you're getting your information, I always find that everybody has a way of doing things, but always try to get multiple resources. Don't be tied into like three people you talk to all the time, because it's going to turn into a thing where you're getting the same answers all the time and they're agreeing with you. You gotta engage some people that you come up in the business with that maybe not like you, but you got to be open to this. And I think a really big one for me is always be curious. You got to stay curious in everything you do. And there's a lot of things that I go through myself just because I'm kind of a multitasker. But when I'm reading these things off, like in my brain, and I'm telling them to you, they're not that hard to do. I mean, be curious is not that hard. You can do that all day. You can be curious. You can ask when someone tells me what they do. I was at a friend's place the other day, and guy was telling me stuff he's doing. I was curious about it. He's like, "Why would you be curious about this? You do that." I'm like, well, because I want to know what you do. I want to understand it better. Um, Obviously, one of the big ones is be organized. I mean, organization is a big deal. And last but not least, stay inspired. You have to stay inspired. If you're not inspired about what you're doing, you're not going to inspire anybody else, and you're not going to be passionate. It's not going to come through. Like when I talk about it, I share a lot and I talk a lot because I get passionate, and then I get in this zone and I just keep talking about it because it's what I love to do. And it's like, people say find something you love to do. It's never really a job. It's just the other thing. But these tasks, these things that I go through to grow my skill set every day, these are things that I do. I mean, and you can't really, and for me, it's 7 days a week. I mean, it doesn't mean that you're working in your job. You might be working on your company. You're not in your company, but when you have these life experiences around people, because people are so many dialed into the computers and they're not touching people as much. And I believe everything's 100% about people. The more feedback you get from all these people and curious, and you have these conversations, it just opens up a whole plethora of things. I come up with another idea this weekend just in a conversation. Of course, I'm not doing it, but I wrote it down to save it for later. But I mean, so there were big things that
Yeah.
there were the big things that I think is, and I know I covered a lot.
Yeah,
So
a lot, but really good stuff. And I think that that's the cool part about business, is that it translates, no matter what you're doing, small, big, different industries, like these things are going to help you in any industry. A couple of them that I like that you talked about, and then you even elaborated on it, that like, you're curious and you're learning other things that might not pertain to your business, but it makes you better at maybe seeing things within your business or within your life that you can improve on. So really good advice. I'm going to go through them real quick just for the listeners. Consistent practice, seek feedback, stay updated, learn actively, multiple resources, always be curious, be organized, and stay inspired. For entrepreneurs who are trying to get better every day, the stay inspired part is important because you know it, because I heard you say it. I know it. Good things take time. And in order to be able to last long enough to see it through, you have to be inspired. If it's something you're not inspired about, if you're not out there, curious and seeking feedback and inspired by the fact that you're helping people, you're going to give up after a year or two, and no good stuff, happens in that short of a time. Quickly before I let you go, because I respect your time, you talked about sports. And the first thing you mentioned here was consistent practice. I love analogies and taking lessons from sports and applying them to business because played as a kid. I'm coaching my sons in basketball, and I see it all the time where somebody who's got, discipline and practice and behaviors and habits in sports translate that really well to the business side. So what do you have from, you said in the Midwest, you guys are better at fundamentals. So did that translate for you into the business world?
Absolutely. I think that sporting people, people that grew up and played sports competitively, um, I think sometimes they have an edge, especially because you have to be competitive. First of all, doesn't mean you have to be arrogant or have a huge ego, but you have to be competitive. Um, so the things that I learned, especially growing up in Indiana playing basketball and Bobby Knight's basketball school and stuff like that, for the first 2 weeks of practice, we never got to shoot the ball. We worked on dribbling, passing, fundamentals. And this is the same thing in business. You have to work on your foundation, because if you build it on a shaky foundation, you're never going to be successful. So foundational things, that's why you want to do consistent practice, the feedback, all them things are building a solid foundation to grow on. And it's the same as sports. It's like building a team. Hey, what are you best at? Now, in my company, I know that I'm inspired by my ideas and I know that it helps people. I don't know how to code anything to save my life. I mean, I can say the catchphrase words and stuff like that. I have no idea what that means. I mean, I can make it sound like I know what I mean. I'm not. That's why you hire the best people to be around you, and and it's like sports, right? It's like, obviously, in the Midwest, I was a Michael Jordan fan. You get the best people to be around you. That's how you win. So in business, you got to also say, a lot of people in business are intimidated to bring other people on because, oh, the guy might take my job. I was always the guy like, I'm bringing him on. I hope he takes my job. I mean, because you want the best people around you. So the sports part of it, I think, is a big analogy, because sports is a thing and like Kobe Bryant said, if you practice something for an hour every day, you're immensely better than someone that's only playing a certain season. So it takes time, but the how you grow is so much faster because of your approach in basing it on fundamentals. So hey, I'm going to practice free throws. Like one of the things in the Midwest, on people got lunch. I'll share quickly. People got lunch breaks. Well, we got to eat our lunch, and then we had to go in the basketball gym, and all we did was shot free throws. And then we went around, and everybody shot 5 free throws. That was our lunch. So again, it's fundamentals, and it's no different in any business what you are. It's like you have to keep your ear to the ground, the heartbeat of the business, and that's your fundamentals. It might not be sports, but you're competitive enough to know how to make it convey.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And you talked about hiring the right people and putting the people around you. You need somebody tall who can grab rebounds. You need somebody who's a good like you can't play all the positions. And so, as you grow and scale a business, you got to put people around you.
And my team is great about that. I'll tell you, I love it when my team says, well, that's a great idea, but that's not going to work. I mean, because that's being honest. I mean, because sometimes you like to think like, oh, everything I'm saying, it's got to be easy to do. They're going to be saying, no, we're not doing that. So that's when you have the right people, when they're going to speak up and tell you what's best for the business, not what you think is best for the business. Because like you said, we know what we know as being entrepreneurs. However, we don't know all that it takes to get to that spot that you wanted to get to. Maybe they have a different way. Most of the time they do. So that's what I would say. Which is pretty cool about. I want to spend money on the best people and then let them be part of something bigger than themselves. And I'll say another thing. Everyone in my company that we start, they have a % of equity in the company because they're part of the win. That's the win, right? You want them to have buy-in, and buy-in is like that, be a part of something bigger than themselves. You can't be a stingy entrepreneur. I mean, I'm sure there's successful people out there that do stuff like that. But for me, being from the Midwest, doing the way I do things, I like to, it's just good to be able to do something like that, I think. For me.
I love it, man. Can't wait to see searchtires.com in 10 years, with a banner up at the Super Bowl, something to that effect. It's that
Super
time
Bowl's
of year.
coming quicker than that. Super Bowl's coming. We missed out on this year, but we might have it next year.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. I mean, I didn't know if it was going to be in the marketing budget, but you say we're going to explode and it'll be in the marketing budget for next year. Sounds good, Tim. Thanks for your time, man. It was a great conversation, man. Searchtires.com. Anywhere else you want people to find you or anything else to point towards?
That's it. Searchtires.com. And thanks, Matt. I really appreciate your time. It was great talking to you.
Yeah. Good talking to you, Tim.